we have a getting started section, and we'll go through some of these different commands. And then we'll also review these two images here, okay? This is where you guys start asking questions. If you guys have any questions, then I can't answer them because, again, I have to know everything. You have a question already? No?
Yeah, the URL, can you read it out loud and then load it quickly?
I'm sorry, the
URL.
Oh, the address? Yeah, I posted it on the Slack channel.
Maybe he's not in Slack.
Oh, come on. This isn't uncensored for you to log in there.
Close, no one asked.
So, our username is, yeah, it might be easier, but it's Inland Empire Software Development, and the spaces are just dashes. You'll find the repository in there is called Git VC, so Git version control. We got people coming. Just look at them instead of them already late.
I don't need back there. Like,
Nothing new.
Can I
Sit your
write
head.
it down
yeah,
and go
yeah,
back?
yeah. Sorry, it's because it moves the camera.
Okay, so before we start, how many of you guys have GitHub accounts? Okay, because I'm hoping everyone's going to be able to create a branch, clone it, create a branch, and so on. Yeah? Yes? Okay. Does anyone not have an account? No? Okay. Perfect, okay. How many of you guys know how to fork a repository? Okay, cool. So we'll cover all that. Let me know if this is too small for you guys. Should I zoom in?
It's too small. It's too small.
What about now? Good? Okay, so before we start, I'm gonna ask you guys to download these two items. So there's Git and GitHub Desktop. We don't have the best connection, but these are very small applications. So I just clicked on Git. You have the option to download it for Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. Okay. We also have the GitHub Desktop. The reason why I want you guys to download this one is in case you have a really hard time using the terminal, you can at least get started with this, right? And you can participate in version control while you're learning how to use the terminal version. So there are times where it does help to visually see what's going on when you do a command. So, but I do not advocate you guys depending on just this one, right? There are things that you can do faster with the terminal. So does everyone have these two items? Yes? No? Maybe? Okay.
What was the second one?
GitHub Desktop.
I don't have that.
You don't? I'm sorry?
I don't have that.
Okay, cool. So in the repository, under Getting Started, there's a link for it.
Is it necessary?
If you want to follow along, yeah.
Is that for the GUI though, right?
I'm sorry? No, regardless, you'll need an account. But again, at the very minimum, if you guys can download Git, that's fine. Like Lee said, it's fine.
Is that Git bash or is that just?
Yeah, so when you install Git, it'll install Git bash. So I think almost everyone should have it installed already. Hey, so does everyone have Git installed? Okay, so you'll know if you have it installed if, for example, if you're on a PC and you type in Git bash, you should see this icon, right? Open it, and you get a terminal. So does everyone have that? Okay.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna assume everyone has it.
There's still people downloading.
I'm sorry?
There's still people downloading.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, do we need more tables?
Huh? I don't think there's a desktop available for Linux. We could probably get a little bit more. You should have taken already.
Yeah, there's another spot here too.
Actually, this is free too. My computer keeps crashing, so it's small.
No one's
Oh, not that one.
What version of Linux is this?
So while you guys are downloading this,
And CentOS.
let's just go over these items right here, right? So if you haven't configured the author name and email address to be used with your commits, you can do so with the following commands. So you have git config. No, because she's doing the thing.
It moves the table. I'm sorry.
Here, you can take.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a, I don't think there's a desktop available for Windows. It should be. So it gets installed.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this number of people, so.
If that's working, then you've got yes. So then you need to-
So apparently you guys don't like algorithms, but you do show up for these things. So that's fine, that's fine.
Because algorithms is like almost purely theoretical, but this is something that's
It's
like
fine, yeah, and I get it.
immediately applicable and useful even if you don't have an interview coming up.
It's fine. If anything, we can have a repository or something with all the algorithms. But anyways, as I was saying, these two items, make sure you set them up, right? You guys don't have to do it right now, but as soon as you try to push to a repository, it will ask you if you haven't set it up before, right? If this is your first time using Git, it's gonna ask you to set these up, okay? Anyone using Git for the first time?
That's just a command line.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, in the command line.
Replacing Sam Smith with your name and
Yes,
user email.
with the email that you use for your account.
I never even knew that this was an option. I've typed my username and password every time I've come into something.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. Okay, does everyone have Git installed? No? Okay. So I'll wait a few more minutes. Okay, for those of you guys that do have Git installed, do me a favor, go to this repository and then click on fork. Okay, right here at the top. Click in it and it'll create a copy onto your account. So for example, let's say I click on this, right? Where should we fork Git VC? To my personal account. So it's like a few seconds. Refresh. Perfect. So now if you look at the top here, it has my name and the name of the repository that it forked. So that means now I have a copy on my account, right? Does that make sense? Yes? No? Okay. I heard one yes. You're gonna carry us. That's wonderful.
So you probably should explain why we're forking.
Yeah, so we're not cloning it because then I would have to go in and add you guys as.
Sorry.
No.
I don't want to know that.
Okay, so we're forking it because otherwise I would have to add you guys as collaborators. I don't know how many of you guys attended the previous talk on GitHub, the dashboard, but I can add you guys as collaborators. Those of you guys that are part of the organization on GitHub should already have access to these repositories. But here, let me show you what I mean by collaborators. Click on collaborators. Notice I clicked on settings, then collaborators, and then I can start adding you guys in here.
You can clone it if you're not a collaborator, just that you can only
Right.
do it on your local machine.
But then you can't push and pull, right? So I want to make sure that everyone can push and pull because and then I'll have you guys do a PR request to the main one. Yeah. But thank you very much.
I just thought maybe I was wrong.
So,
Because that's imperative like this.
Tony, is there anything you want to add?
so that's basically, you hit the nail on the head. Pretty much you're forking it so that we can contribute to it later as a third party. And basically, if you want to contribute to an open source project on GitHub, typically they won't add you as a collaborator until you build an extreme amount of trust. So
Right.
they'll want you to fork it, contribute, and then you'll give them a pull request, and there's a trail so they can review it. So.
I'm gonna write on this.
So you say forking with public and then collaboration practice.
Well, yeah, collaboration is basically somebody you want to work on the same project as you.
So just so,
And when you fork it, you literally have your own copy of that project. And if you want to submit it back to the original project, you submit a pull request.
it's fine.
And
It gives us
basically
character.
GitHub supports a whole review process, so you can see a trail of
Okay.
what you submitted, they can comment on it.
So the reason why we're doing this training today is because last time we did, are you okay? Last time we did Hack Day, I think the biggest obstacle was GitHub. Git and Github. Am I pulling a fast today? Am I just, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so the problem was that you guys spent about 2 hours trying to figure out how to collaborate, right, with GitHub. So the problem was that we had our repo here, and let's say there was 5 of you guys on a team. Everyone cloned it. Everyone cloned a copy, right? Or you forked a copy. So how were you guys collaborating? How were you guys seeing each other's changes? You weren't, right? So what one of you guys should have done is have one person managing your project, right? So what they could have done is they could have forked the repository, and you guys could have done the same with this one and contributed to this one, right? Does that make sense? Okay, in the future though, we will have a guide for you guys to do it. In retrospect, I think it would have made a lot of sense for us to have a guide for you guys. But hey, lessons learned, right? Okay, cool.
So I'm sorry, you're saying one team member would fork the main repo and then
Yeah, so
everybody?
no.
That's how-
So one person on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we said everybody else contributes.
Yes.
So we actually.
Yeah, so you guys
Everyone
did,
else contributes to the fork
To the
one.
fork, right.
Yeah.
so that's one way to do it too, which is in my opinion easier. So yeah. Okay, how many of you guys forked the repository?
Should we clone it locally too, or no?
So we'll get to that, but I need to make sure that you guys forked it already. Okay, I'll assume that everyone forked it, right? Okay, so this is mine. Okay, let's go. So here we go. So right now what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I'm on my desktop. So I just hit CD desktop, right? This is not a terminal training class at all, okay? So now what I'm going to do is, notice where I'm at, the URL. This is my personal copy now, right? I'm going to go ahead and click on clone or download. I'm gonna get that URL, okay? From my copy, okay? Make sure everyone's doing that too. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to clone the copy that I forked. So I'm typing in git clone. Oh, I didn't copy it right. Just kidding, I wasn't ready. Okay, git clone. And you guys see the URL? That's the URL I copied from the repository. Okay? Now, just in case you guys want to give it a better name, you guys can pass a name here.
For 2 weeks.
Question?
So is this the way you guys are working at Esri as well? Fork-based development?
No. So at Esri, we all have access to the repository, so we all can just clone. So we don't need to do any sort of forking, right?
You typically do forking in your separate organizations.
So basically, you're gonna have a separate project when you fork it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be contributing back to the same thing
Well,
necessarily.
you can contribute back when you do a pull request. Basically, that activates a review process, basically.
But it's not necessarily ever gonna happen.
So put it this way, when you fork, you're forking a repository that you do not own or you share no interest in as far as you're not part of that company,
Yeah.
right? You're going to contribute to it, right? And the way that you contribute to it is you're gonna fork, you're gonna clone, you're gonna do all your changes in a separate branch, and then you're gonna do a PR request to see if they'll accept your changes, right? So that's the whole purpose, in my opinion, for forking.
So when you fork it, is it a branch?
No, it's the whole repository.
It's a whole
No, but I mean, when you fork it, is that considered a separate branch from the original? Because you said if you
No,
do
it's not a branch.
if you
Straight up,
do
it's
a
not a
pull
branch.
request,
No, you'll see why.
because I think that's how we wound up deleting our half the work we did on Hack Day, is that I forked it and then made a branch,
Uh-huh.
and then when it came time to do the merges, I uploaded the branch to the branch on the master.
Maybe you didn't merge that branch
and
with
then-
master.
And then that branch got merged to the master.
Uh-huh.
And then one of my team worker, the person who we all cloned his repository, did his own upload, and it wiped out everything I just merged.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But okay, so far, question?
Really quick, because I kind of lost you there. Git version control, what was that again?
He's renaming the repository.
Right. So if you guys have made it this far, you guys can see I'm doing Git Clone, the URL of the repository I'm trying to clone, and then I passed in a name. This is optional, right? I'm giving it a different name. Otherwise, if I delete that, what it's going to do is going to create a directory with the name of Git VC. Okay, so let me go ahead and press enter. Now, if I do ls, I should see a folder called Git VC. So I'm going to go into that folder, assuming that it's there. And you can see that now it's showing me this thing right here. I'm on the master branch, right? So I've done two things. I've successfully forked the repository, and I've successfully cloned the repository.
Why doesn't mine say master?
Okay, did you go inside of the directory after you cloned it?
Yeah, that's why I said it doesn't say master. I just went into it and it doesn't show that.
Anyone else having that issue?
Having what issue? I'm sorry.
So he cloned the repository, and he went inside the directory, but he can't see where it says master.
Yeah, well, they're on Mac, so maybe that might.
Oh, that's the problem. It's a Mac. I thought I wasn't going to say that today. Okay. Sorry, Scott.
So you're in your.
I'm in my clone repository of my clone.
I see it.
I forked his on GitHub.
Oh,
and
how
then
about
I
this?
CD into it.
Do me a favor and do git space status.
Branch is up to date with origin master.
Okay, now do what
On
Luis
branch
said.
master.
Do what Luis said and do git branch, and it should show you a list of your branches. And it should show you. Oh, I could just do it here.
Yeah, I'm in master.
Here you go.
I know I was in the master branch. I just
Oh,
was
okay,
wondering
well.
why it didn't show it like
Yeah.
yours does.
It's a Mac. I don't know.
But then it's probably your terminal.
Anytime you're not sure, just do Git branch and it'll tell you.
Yeah.
Or Git status tells you the branch you're on to. And
So it is a Mac thing.
Okay,
Oh, it's a
perfect.
Linux thing because my
See, I wasn't
30
talking
doesn't
anything
do
bad
it.
about Macs. It is a Mac thing.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, Fedora 30 doesn't show it either.
Cool. So we've only done git clone, and that's like the only command we've done, right? Yes? No?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Luis. Okay. So now you guys have forked the repository. You guys have cloned it. Now you guys are inside the repository on the master branch, right? So let's do a couple of things. Let's not look at that. Let's look at this. I'm going to open that project. It is under here. Okay, so if you open that project with your favorite editor, whatever it is, you can see there's a folder called images, right? And there's 2 images in there. Then you also have the README file, right? Okay, so do me a favor, at the top, go ahead and put your name, and then save the file. Okay, after you save it, open up Git Bash. If you have 2 windows open the correct one, please. Because I've done that before.
So where do you want us to put our name?
At the top.
Of the README?
Of the README?
Yeah, at the top of the README. So just like this. Okay, I think that's big enough, right? You can all see it?
A little bit.
A little bit too small? Okay, well, it's there. So I saved it. Now if I go back to Git Bash and I do git status, it's telling me that that file has been modified. Does that make sense? So have you kind of seen what git status is for? Right? So you see the status of your working directory, right? So how many of you guys have worked with a version control system that isn't Git? Okay, so those of you guys that have, Git works a bit differently, right? For example, Mercurial doesn't have a staging area, right? Have you worked with Mercurial before?
I've worked with SVN, CVS,
Okay.
Perforce, Clearcase.
CVS. Every time I hear CVS, I think about that.
SCCS.
Yeah.
Not Mercurial though.
Okay. Well. So what
yeah,
we're-
none of those have staging areas either. So.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So what we're going to do, let's pull this image up. Basic flow. Open and Explorer. Nope, I don't like it there. Oh, come on. Okay. Is that big enough? Can you guys see that?
Yeah, we have a copy of it.
You guys are way too loud. Keep it down, please.
We have a copy of it on our own
Okay,
repository
perfect.
too.
So if you guys are looking at it, here's what we're going to do. We have the remote repository that we forked, right? We already cloned it. Our working directory, when we make changes to it and you do git status, it'll tell you, hey, you've made a change, right? It'll say modified, added, deleted, or whatever. Question?
So the remote repository, is it referring to the one in our GitHub account that
Yes.
we forked, or is it referring
No.
to the original?
What you just said, the first one.
Okay, so when you say like origin master, it's not talking
No.
about.
It's
the
talking
one
about
we
your
cloned,
copy.
forked. Okay.
Right. So this working directory are your files, right? Question?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm super new to all this, so.
That's fine.
Here, what's the difference between local and remote?
So local, this is your computer, on your local, right? Remote is the repository that you have on GitHub, right? So this right here, it's your working directory, your working files, right? Where you're making all the changes. When you're done making changes to that file, you want to do git add and the path to those files, or that one singular file, right? So we're gonna do a couple of changes. I'll show you guys how to do multiple files, just one file, and then the multiple ways that you can do multiple files, okay? After we add these files to the staging area, and we know for sure we're happy with those changes, we can commit them, okay? So let's cover that on the terminal.
Yeah, one thing you'll notice is Git was pretty much the first version control system to have this model of local versus remote repo. SVN, CVS, all the other ones, you have one repo. And so you're basically, if you're not online or able to connect to that remote repo, you're basically stuck. In a model like this, you can still do a bunch of work when you're completely disconnected. And then once you get connected again, you can push your changes back up to the online repo, whether it be a GitHub or whether it be your company.
Just
Or
walking around.
that's one of the benefits of this model compared to other version control systems.
Okay, so we're ready to add this to our staging area, right? So do git add and then the name of the file. Okay, for those of you guys that are new to the terminal, if you type in like the first 3 letters of the file and then press tab, it'll try to autocomplete for you. For those of you guys that are lazy at typing.
What did you say to do to the README to adding your name? You just
Oh,
open up
right.
the file and.
So open up the, not that one. Open up the project and
Yeah.
then open up the README, and at the top, just add your name
Okay. And then save it.
and then save it.
You're just making it different, right?
Yeah,
So you
I'm making a change.
You said git add and the name of the file is git add README. Is that?
Git add and then the name of the file. So it should be README.
README, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You need to be in the directory that your repository is in.
Yeah, I'm in there.
Yeah, and whenever you guys have a doubt that you're not in the correct directory, just do git status. And it'll tell you if you have changes in your directory, right? So are we ready to add it? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, now I just added it. If I do git status, now it's green, right? Now I know it's in my staging area. Does that make sense?
So add is add to staging area, basically.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Now,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm just trying to think of the
Is
manipulation
Git bash
of what all
case
these
sensitive?
commands
I believe it is. It is, right?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
case sensitive. Yeah.
So if files all caps like that, you gotta make sure.
And
it's
Yeah.
all-
add the
Okay.
flags.
Here, let's.
What about changing
Thousands of
directories?
permutations.
Like if you change directory, but you're in all lowercase for desktop, is it gonna matter?
I think it should, because for example here, it's
Everything's
giving me
case sensitive.
capitalized.
Okay.
It depends on your system and OS whether case of your letters matters. So older Windows systems, everything is uppercase, whether it displays as lower or upper anyways. I think on Windows 10 though, it is case sensitive. On Linux and Mac, it's case sensitive.
So how old on Windows are we talking? Like 95 or?
I think Windows 7 even.
Oh wow. I don't want to see anyone with Windows 95 in here, please. Okay, cool. So we have this on our staging area, right? So let's say we're done, right? We want to git commit, pass it in the flag of M for message, and then keep in mind your message must be surrounded by quotation marks. It does not take these. You don't want to spend an hour trying to figure out why your message doesn't go through. It didn't happen to me, it happened to a friend. Okay,
If
so
you don't use the dash M, it opens a file for you, correct?
yeah, it'll ask you to put the message in.
It wants a message, yeah.
But it's much easier to do it this way.
Can you repeat that, what you said?
Yeah, of course.
No, the quotation.
How I messed up. Quotation marks. You need the double quotation marks for your message.
Or word, opposed to what?
Single quotation marks, like these.
Because they work, yeah, so you get it.
Oh, it didn't work for me.
Oh,
Maybe that's a John.
that's a John, yeah.
Anyways. Sounds like Windows like, no, come on.
There you go, thank you.
Moving forward. Okay, so git commit, and we pass it in the flag for message. And so there's this whole thing about messages for commits, where some people can be a bit superfluous when they're talking about what they did. Try to keep it simple and concise, right? When you're making changes on a project, you want to keep track of those changes in case you have to go back and remove those changes, right? Say you made a change and it's a change of 120 lines of code that you did, right? Would it be easier to track down where you messed up compared to a change you did of like 10 lines of code? And again, it really depends, right?
Yeah.
So, do you have something to add to that?
In general, I guess you want to try and be as concise as possible. You know, but yeah, it depends. Like in our case, it's simple. But I've worked on a lot of projects where people just get lazy and they just say like made a bunch of changes.
Or literally readme updated,
Yeah.
right? But what part of the readme did you update? Now I have to go into the repository, go into the changes for that commit, and it takes me longer than just reading your commit message, right? Okay, so we have git commit, and then the M flag for message, and we're passing in a message for our commit, right? So if I press enter, I'm ready to push this up, right? So if I do git push, since I cloned it from my own account, it knows what origin I'm using, right? So now if I go back to GitHub, you guys can see that it's telling me this branch is one commit ahead of Inland Empire Software Development Master, right? Does that make sense? So it's comparing my branch with the master branch on IESD's repository. Okay? If I want to go see what that commit changed, I go here, added name to top of file, right? That's the message I passed it in. I click on it, and I can see that I added this to the file.
Where did you click? What did you click to see this?
Here?
Okay. Oh, and you clicked the message.
Yeah, the message I passed in.
And then that brings up the message, the commit
Yeah,
message.
this diff screen. So push.
Is that just the git push commit, or the git push command?
Yeah, the git push. Yeah, so it pushed everything that I committed, right? Everything that was ready to push. Okay, so far, did that make sense? How we made it happen? Okay, make sure you guys say yes or no, because I can't read your minds.
Yeah, if you go back, I guess another thing that I commonly do, just if I forget to click on the message, go back to the, you can actually click on the commit hash.
This?
Most people do that because you can use that hash in other commands too, so I just remember to click on that most of the time anyways. Just you know, if I need to roll back to it or refer to it somewhere else. Because typically when you're working at a company, that hash will probably be put in a system like Jira or some other issue tracking system.
Okay. So now, quickly, I'm going to show you guys the difference utilizing GitHub Desktop. For those of you guys that are more visual, I'm going to open this right here. There are no changes, right? So I went to create a repository, and if it doesn't appear here, you can click on Add, and Add Existing Repository, and pass it in the folder where your repository that you cloned is located, right? Now I'm clicking on the repository I cloned, Git VC. Sorry? Which part? I said a lot of things. All of it, okay, perfect. So this is GitHub Desktop, right? What I'm doing is I'm clicking on current repository at the top left. And then if I don't see the repository that I want to work in, I click on add existing repository, if I already cloned it, right? Otherwise, I can click on clone repository and pass the URL in, okay? But since mine is right here, I'm gonna click on it, and this is where it's going to show me the changes if I make any changes to that repository, okay? If I click on history, it'll show me all the items that I've modified in that repository, okay?
So do you click on the directory that the repository is in, or the head directory of the repository itself?
No. So let's see.
So am I clicking on the Git VC directory?
So let me show you, because this is the original one that is on IESD. So let's click on the one that we just cloned. So I can click on Add Existing Repository, click on Choose, and then Desktop, and Git VC.
Okay, so you click on the directory that you actually
Yes.
cloned, not the directory that the one you cloned is in.
No, you click the parent container. Okay? I select the folder and add repository. Now you guys can see that my latest commit is up there. It says added name to top of file. And it shows me the changes that I made, right? So if I go back to my editor, let's close that other one, and let's say I remove it. I put something else, no name. I saved it. I go back to GitHub Desktop. I see changes as updated. So there's a change, right? So I'm gonna, let's say I have multiple files here. I can select that file. I can input the message right here. Actually, and then commit to master. Now you can see here at the top, push origin. It has one item I can push, right? If I click on it, it should give me an error, because I should have pulled. Okay, so it did it for me, wonderful. So if I go to history, now you can see that that commit is also there.
So what's the difference between the comment and description?
I don't know. I know that the commit goes here under summary, which is required. The description is optional. So let's say you don't want to have 2-3 lines for your commit. You can be concise for your commit, and then the description can be different, right? So here. So I made a change. I'm gonna go back under changes, changes detected. Okay, we're going to commit it, and we're going to push.
So if you do that, that's the summary and that's the description. So if I looked on GitHub, if you add to the description, when you click on the commit, it actually adds a description in smaller text on the bottom.
Here. Yeah, I just made a test so we can see. No, that's not it. That's not mine. Okay.
So that's
Okay, so you guys see that?
John, so me and Amber, we have this screen where it takes us to where it says, let's get started. And it gives you three options: clone a repo from the internet, create a new repository, or add existing repository to your hard drive, but you already have it, so.
Is there anything for adding an existing repository? I'm sorry? You guys see it? Okay, cool. So again, those of you guys that know the answer, make sure to help your neighbor, because I can't hear. Okay, so we just made that test. Scott asked what this little item here was for, description. And we can see that it renders here, right? So which one do you guys like better, the terminal or the desktop version?
I prefer terminal personally.
Liars. That's good.
So you can do it however you want, I'll follow along.
I like the, like a lot of IDEs, like I use Visual Studio Code.
Yeah.
And it'll automatically detect it, so if you're making a lot of changes, you can click on one button to just add all of them all at once to staging area, and then type a commit message for all of them.
I'm still a creature of habit, I still use terminal even if VS Code. I'm always afraid I'm gonna mess it up the other way.
So.
Push the wrong button, and like.
The wrong button.
I have to figure out how to go backwards, and that's just too much.
And that's all, this is over here.
So-
Learn how the backwards, forwards, sideways.
Let's say we're done with all the changes on our copy, and we want to push all those changes to the original repository hosted by IESD. We can do what's called a pull request, right? So I go to my repository, and I look at the branch that I'm working on that I want to push to the other repository, and do a pull request, because I want that other repository to pull my code, right? So here, let's click on new pull request. Now everyone should be on their own repository, on their master branch, okay? You should be able to click on create new pull requests. And here's what we're going to do. The Inland Empire Software Development branch, the repository Git VC, and then we're gonna select the master branch, okay? That's the base. On our end, we have this repository. So my name, Git VC, and I wanna pull the master branch, okay? Now I'm gonna create pull request. I'm gonna give it a title.
Hang on, I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay, want me to go back?
Yeah, please, sorry. Because, so you're in your repository on GitHub after you've uploaded your changes.
Yeah, so this is my repository. You see I'm on the master branch, okay? If I click new pull requests, it'll give me that option. So new pull requests, it'll give me the base, and then also which branch
Hang on.
and which
I muted my
repository
screen
for
for a
my
second.
account to push,
I muted
right?
my screen for a critical second. Go back to your original repository. Okay, so this is after you've uploaded your changes to your repository.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
This is after you've uploaded your changes to your clone or fork
Yes,
repository.
yes.
And then where do
So
you
at
go
this
from
point, we're
here?
done with all our changes, right?
Yeah,
So everything has been pushed to our master branch,
yes.
right? So now we're ready to grab those changes and see if ISC is okay with adding that new feature that we built,
Okay.
right? So we're gonna do new pull requests
From
from
your,
mine, from mine,
okay,
yes.
and
Okay.
that goes to the IESD.
No, yeah, sorry. So what we're doing now is we're setting the base repository, and then from our end, from our account, on the right side where it says head repository, we're choosing the repository that we want to use in the PR, right? And we're setting the branch, okay? So I click on create pull request.
So base repository is the original one you forked from.
Yes, perfect. And then the one on the right is the one on my account, right? So I'm gonna do create pull request. I'm so happy it saved it. And then a description, and then create pull request.
When creating pull requests, is there like a rule for how you should title it and like what you should write in the description?
Yes, so it heavily depends on the team that you're working on. Sometimes they have naming conventions or they want you to add tags in the name. For example, if it's a work in progress, they might want you to add brackets and then WIP, right? Again, it heavily depends on the team that you're working with. So, does that answer the question?
Yes.
Yeah?
Are we supposed to get a review required one?
Yes. Yeah. So now that I clicked on create new pull request, you guys can see that here's my message, here's a title, here's a number, right, of the PR. Here are all the commits for this PR, and then review required, okay? So the reason why this is on here is, and why it's blocked too, is because in the backend, I did this. I went into settings. I'm opening that in a new window, okay? I clicked on branches, and I added a branch protection rule for master, meaning nobody can push anything into master as far as the PR goes unless it's reviewed, right? And it means one approving review. Does that make sense? Okay. Even then, someone's gonna have to review that PR request and approve it to have it merged into that other repository, right? So let's look at files changed. So let's say, where is it? Let's start the review. Let's look at files changed, right? Let's say I don't like how they put this in here, right? I click here and I leave a comment. You misspelled name, and I misspelled. Okay? Add single comments. Click on review changes. Pull requests, authors, because I'm the author, okay. So I can't request changes on my own PR. But let's say this was your PR and I click on request changes, it would notify you that there's changes to be made, right? And you can see the comments that I leave on there as well. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So, oh, you guys did do them, okay.
No.
I'm like, PR requests, who's got PR requests? Okay. So let's see. Let's try to approve one. That effort right there. So let's try to merge it and see what happens. Okay, so now I'll go back. Okay, so damn it. That's on the recording now. One. Okay, so I clicked on pull requests. Okay, I'm going to choose a pull request to work on, right? Update README, name style file. Well, let's go with this one. That's you, right, Scott?
Yeah.
I hope it's a merge conflict. So we're seeing the name of the PR request. So updated files show edit 1 with name and edit 2 with more text. Fine. Okay, review required. Let's say I reviewed everything, everything's wonderful. Okay, I go in, merge pull request. I'm using my admin superpowers, confirm merge. Okay. So I go back, and we can see merge pull request from, and then it gives you the name of the repository, right, and the branch. Okay. Did you guys see anything complicated there? No, right? It's just a matter of practice. So, any questions about that part?
What if I had created a branch?
That's fine.
In my local machine.
Okay.
And then I pushed back to the origin master, or pushed back to the origin on the branch.
So let's do that. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna see if there's any changes. So there's none, right? So when you do git fetch, it'll check the repository and it'll let you know if there's any changes made, right? If you just go straight up and do git pull, it'll get all the changes and just merge them to your local, right? Does that make sense? If you do, again, it's a matter of preference. If you do git fetch first and see the changes that are there, you can merge them, cherry pick, whatever you want to do, right? So I did git pull. Now, let me type this out and then I'll tell you guys what's going on. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm creating a new branch, okay, based off of master. Okay, so it says git checkout, the base, and then I'm adding the new name of the branch, Scott, and then off of master. Okay, does that make sense? No? Yes? Okay, cool. So now if I do git branch, now there's two branches.
So the
right?
checkout created and then moved you.
Yeah.
The mine is reading. The checkout is changing it to a branch, and the mine is creating that branch because it's a little more messy.
Okay.
And you'll see how we'll push it back to the repository. Okay. Again, all these commands are on the README with instructions, okay? So we're doing git push, origin, and we want this to be the default right now. So we're passing this flag. Does that make sense?
What do you mean the default?
The branch. I think you can do it without it actually. I think it's more of a habit for me. Let's try it. But the most important part here is that we're doing git push. Okay, that's the base command, right? Git push. And then we're setting the origin to Scott. Okay, the branch that we're pushing, right? Okay.
But what did you just do?
Git push, origin, and then name of the branch I'm pushing.
No, okay, so you did a git push, which means you're pushing back to your remote.
Yeah.
Origin is where you're pushing to
I'm setting the branch to Scott.
on your remote.
Yes, here.
Okay, so you didn't really do anything except change the branch you're working in
I'm
on
pushing
your
my local
remote
branch.
to Scott.
No, I'm pushing my local branch to the remote,
Yeah,
right? And I'm pushing which one? Scott.
yeah,
So now if I go back here,
there's an extra branch in there,
oh, that's not the correct one.
but you're in the wrong one. Now there's another branch
You
there.
can see there's another branch, okay?
But it's identical to master in this
Yes,
case.
because I haven't done anything. So 3 and 3, okay? Now all of these items are here. So we did checking out a repository, we did Git Clone, right? We added files, right? Yes. Okay. We made commits. We pushed. We saw the status of our repository. We created a new branch as well. Let's switch branches. So let's do git branch. And then git checkout master. Let's do git branch again. So now I'm on master, right? So let's say I want to go back to Scott, to a Scott branch. How do I do that?
Git checkout Scott.
That's pretty easy, right? Anyone have an issue with that? Anyone bored yet? Oh, too many hands up. Okay. So git branch. Okay, perfect. Any questions so far? Okay, because when you guys leave here and I ask you guys a question about GitHub,
Can you explain how the Scott branch is related to master? I mean, is it the same files in the repository?
yeah. So when we did git checkout -b and then the name of the new branch, and then we passed it the branch that we want to duplicate, right? It has everything that branch has. So at that specific moment in time, we're just making a copy, right? Okay, let's see. Merging. Okay, so let's make a change real quick. So I made a change to the file, to the reaping. I'm gonna go back and do git status, see if it picked it up. Git add, adding to staging, committing with a message, and then pushing. Oh, git push origin, and then Scott.
Spell origin.
Oh, it did. I was trying to spell onion rings, come on. Cool. Now if I go back, and refresh. So this branch is 4 commits ahead, 3 commits behind the master branch. I go to master. Okay. So now I want to merge the Scott branch onto the master branch, right? Because the Scott branch is 1 commit ahead, right? It has 1 change that I didn't do to the master branch, right? So I'm going to check out the master branch. And I'm going to try to merge the Scott branch, right? Now, would I recommend doing that? No. This is what PR requests are for, right? If I go in and I merge that, here, I'll do it. Okay. Let's go in, refresh. So you see that I merged that other branch with master, right? Now, that's a merge. The reason why I like PRs better is this reason. Let me make a change here. Status. So right now, I'm on the master branch. I'm making a change. So I can show you guys the difference between merging a branch with another branch and then doing a PR request. So now master should be ahead of the Scott branch by 1 commit, okay? So we're gonna go back. My repository, pull requests. I'm going to make sure that the base repository is set to my repository. And I wanna merge, what was it? Okay, so that one's, so I'm merging master into the Scott branch. Right? Create pull requests. Let's say I added all my information in there. Let's go ahead and bypass everything. We merged it. Now let's say there's an error with that PR. Let's say that broke the site and we need to revert quickly, right? Instead of me having to figure out how to revert that merge that I did to the terminal, without a PR request, I can just click here, revert. I can put down why I'm reverting, and then create pull request, and then merge it. Okay? Do you guys see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions?
So the difference between like merging PRs, is that gonna be like organization versus like each individual scenario, like how they prefer it to be done?
Yes, it really depends on the team, right? At Esri, for example, whenever we have a feature that we're working on, we create a branch for that specific feature.
Mm-hmm.
That person's working on that branch. As soon as they're done with that branch, we then merge it into development, and then we test everything on development, and then we push it up the tiers, right? So for development to staging, which is considered UAT, user acceptance testing, and then into production, right? Okay. So let's see if we covered branches, merging, tags. I don't think that's important. Do you use that a lot, Tony, yourself?
What's that?
Tags?
Tags?
I think it heavily depends on the team.
I have it in my organization, but a lot of open source projects that I pull use tags for releases.
Yeah, so like you guys can read here, you can use tagging to mark a significant change set, such as a release. So again, that's preference, right? I don't use tags. Okay, so
Does it make it more searchable maybe?
no, it's more for organization, right? Like it says right there, in case there's like a specific change you've done and you want to mark it as a release, you can pass it a tag of let's.
Well, I guess in a way it's easier to remember a tag than the hash of a commit.
Because you also have organizational purposes.
Oh, yeah.
You can go into tags and just filter it that way, right? So again, a lot of these things are for making your life easier. So, but the one thing I wanted to show you guys was logging. So in your terminal, let's say I want to see all the commits up to this point. I can do git log, and it'll show them to me this way, right? It doesn't make any sense to me this way, okay? Now if you guys do git log, and then you can't get out, press Q, okay? Q for quit, right? Let's say I wanna make it a little bit more readable. I do git log, one line, okay? Now it's a bit more readable, right? There's a bunch of different things you can pass it. I believe there's also git log ref. Right, so if you, for some reason, made another branch, it would show that, right? It would create a little forward, what's it called? Forward slash? Come on, guys, there's like 50 of us in here.
Yep.
You can give me the word, forward slash, okay. Come on. And it'll show that new branch, right? There is another program called Git Kraken. Have you guys ever heard of that one? Yeah? Okay. Well, that one has very nice graphics, and it does have a really nice tool to seeing all the deviations in the branches. So in case you guys want to use a program or something. Okay. Have you guys heard of stashing before? No? Okay. So let's say I make a change here, right? Another change. To get out of there, get status. Okay, and let's say I wanna save this change for later. So I do git stash. Okay, get status. Now it's saved, right?
Is that so you don't accidentally commit it along with other files?
Yeah, it's so you can save it for future use,
Yeah.
right? Let's say you wanna save a set of changes and you wanna switch between branches, then you can apply it to that branch, right?
How do you apply it later on?
Here we go. So git stash. I think it's list, so we can see the list of items. Nope, I'm a liar.
I think no dashes, just git stash list.
Okay, cool. So let's say I move on over to the Scott branch. So git checkout, Scott. Oh, merge conflict, that's wonderful.
Yes, because I need like 5 different pull requests.
Let's see. Okay. So do you guys want to take a stab at this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we have updated stream, upstream, and then stage changes. Okay? Can you guys guess why there's a merge conflict?
Test another.
I'm sorry?
Test another.
Because there's different information. His file has text and or code that your file doesn't have, or vice versa.
Right, so it's just
They don't
making
have-
sure which one's the correct version, right?
Right.
So let's say we want to go with Scott test another change. Okay? We go ahead, delete this. Okay, save it.
Now, if both were correct, you would just get rid of the comments.
They shouldn't be both correct. Because it's the same line of code. So one of them is the one that you're choosing. Right?
That's what caused the merge conflict,
Right.
is you had identical code, or identical code that was different in the same place.
Right, so it's asking you to choose one. Make up your mind, right?
Right, so for example, on hack day, we had CSS changes that were both in our CSS files. So when we went to merge, it was saying merge conflicts, but all of the CSS was valid. It was just that his CSS and my CSS were on the same like lines.
Oh, yeah, then yeah. That's
So
where
then
you
we just put in
manually,
the comments
yeah.
and we can do-
That's where you manually go in and grab things and then put them where they're supposed to go. Delete all those different, what are they called?
Comments.
The less than things?
Yeah.
And take them out and then save it, right? Oh, no, question?
At Esri, when you run into conflicts, do you have to
We
meet
don't
up?
have merge conflicts at Esri. Actually, keep on going. What's the question?
So like when you run into conflicts, do you have to meet up with your team to decide which code you want to keep? Or do you just resolve them yourself?
So,
Depends if it's Friday, 4 o'clock or not.
yes.
If it's on my screen, I choose.
So here's the thing about merge conflicts. If your team is organized and you guys are all working on the same page, it's rare for us to get merge conflicts. I'm not saying we don't get them. We do, right? There's always one person that messes up. I'm not saying it's me. Sometimes it might be. But the thing is, if you can prevent these things, it's better, right? Do we have a whole meeting for it? No. We are very good at just calling each other saying, hey, like fix your code, right? We take a look at the code, we do like a screen share, we take a look at what the conflict is, and then we normally figure it out. The cool thing is that depending on the team, you do have a Git master that takes care of all the merges that come in, any commits that go in, they review them, right? So that's one thing that helps avoiding merge conflicts, is having one person decide what goes in and what goes out, right? Because then someone is keeping track. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Doesn't
cool.
the pull request give you a flag like a warning to say to?
Yes, yeah. So if you're lucky, you can catch
So
it
when
there.
you do your PR, you could like, oh wait, what's going on?
Yeah, if you're lucky, you'll catch it there, and you don't have to do it through the terminal. But even if you have to do it through the terminal, during the PR request, it'll tell you what commands to use. So it doesn't just leave you like high and dry and just, right? So git add. So you get status. Oh, I can't spell status. Okay. So again, I modified the README to address that merge conflict. I just added it to the staging area. And push it. Oh, get pulled. It's telling me that I can't push until I have all the changes from the remote. Okay. Good status. So if I go and check, the repository should be burning. That's not mine. Okay, cool. Less than a minute ago.
So, but since you just did that, why does my local one here say this branch is 2 commits ahead, 1 commit behind?
What do you mean?
It says that this branch is 2 commits ahead, 1 commit behind IESD development master. But you just resolved the merge conflict.
Right,
Very
but
refreshing.
on my local.
That was on his.
Yeah, this is on my local.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, on my account.
Okay,
Right?
so that wasn't the IESD.
No. That's on my account. So if I make changes to the ISC one, it should reflect that you're behind or ahead or whatever.
So your things that you were doing were all on your local account?
Yes, my local.
Okay,
Because remember, I forked it too.
yeah.
Okay. So let's see.
What would be a scenario where you need to create a stock branch on your local?
So a reason why you would create a duplicate of master or staging or dev is because you're working on a feature, right? Let's say you're working on a, I don't know,
We're fixing the bug.
or fixing the bug, right? There's a bug, the browser, all of a sudden you click on the refresh button and it doesn't work. So you're gonna fix that. So you create a copy of the master branch or whatever branch they're having you work on and do your fixes there. And then that's why, because if you break anything, they're able to test it first. So they check out that specific branch on their local machine, they test it, and if everything's good, they leave reviews or whatever on your PR request, and if everything's good, why are you laughing? They can approve that PR request, right? Andy, you got something to say? Some wisdom you wanna impart on this? Okay, cool. So we did git add, right? We did commit, checkout, we merged, we did git push and git pull. Any questions about these? So everyone can work on Git now, right? I like Rachel's confidence. She's like, yeah, of course I can. Okay.
I think the bigger issue just came in like when at the last minute on the thing, at least from our team, like there was like all these merge content, but then they were valid, and it was like, how do we get through this?
Yeah, so I think for Hack Day, we're trying to have some guidance for you guys as far as GitHub goes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Git.
The other thing was everyone was pulling off the fork, but
Yeah.
then they were working on master.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then that was the other thing, was like, oh no, we need to all make branches.
And the thing is, yeah, everyone should have their own branch depending on what feature they were working on.
So it was like trying to just kind of fix all those little stray
Yeah.
issues.
Well, lesson learned, right? So somebody won.
So, well, yeah, no, I'm just saying that.
Somebody won.
Yeah, well, it wasn't me, so. No, I'm just saying, I like the idea that you have it, like, just a basic, do this, and then go.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's just gonna come up, but like, just knowing that you pull it, you make a branch, you start working, and then, work from there, would be helpful.
Yeah. So any questions? Any questions? Otherwise, I've taken like an hour and a half of your time. Yes? No? I see a thumb up there. He's like, stop talking. Good, good. Question?
Can you talk about Hacktoberfest?
Hacktoberfest? What do I know about Hacktoberfest? You mean Hack Day?
No.
No, I don't know about it. You want to talk about Hacktoberfest?
No.
No. The tone.
There was like no hesitation in that.
Yeah, no. Jen, do you want to talk about Hacktoberfest?
Is anyone familiar with that?
Never heard.
Is
No?
it kind of like a NaNoWriMo?
Pull it up on the website.
Like a
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Drinking will hack your nature.
It's a first one. Oh,
Is it this one?
yeah.
So are we late?
No.
19 days.
It starts.
Oh, so it starts, okay.
It
I
starts
thought
in
it ended in
October.
19 days. I'm like, yeah, we're late.
So it's the whole month of October where you get to contribute to
Oh.
open source projects. And
Right.
then if you do, I think if you contribute to 4 projects, they give you like t-shirt and stickers and stuff like that.
Well, that's cool.
So it's
And
encouraging.
that coincides with outreaches.
Yeah, so how many of you guys have heard about outreachy? Okay, so a couple of you guys. Okay, so you guys have until September 24th
Yeah.
to 19th? Yeah, let's go with 19th to apply. What outreach is they help people find remote internships. These are not internships where you get paid, you know, an arm and a leg. I think the stipend is $5,500 for the 3 months that you do your remote internship, right? The cool thing is that depending on the company that you go with, they might have additional perks. I was able to land one internship, and it was with Mozilla, so I was able to work on the actual browser, right? Now, if you don't have previous work experience, Mozilla looks really good on your resume, right? Right? Yes?
Yes.
No? Okay. I'm looking for validation here, guys. Yes? Yes? No? Okay. So, it's a wonderful way to get experience. Even if you don't get the internship, you're still able to contribute to these projects, right? And you can still put that on your resume or wherever you want to put it, right? So it's not just Mozilla, it's Debian is one of them. Fedora has a project on there. There's projects, not just front-end development.
I thought I saw something about Jenkins coming in.
Jenkins, yeah, they were there last time too. So they have work on there. So there's C++, I believe, right? C#.
C#, I haven't seen C# yet. There's C++, Rust, Java, JavaScript, React. Not everything's listed because they have until like October 1st is when the contribution period opens up, and then they'll have the full list.
It says 5,500.
What are the projects? Do you guys know where the projects
They're
are?
under applicant. No, current, it says, yeah, under applicant it says current project. Yeah, on the drop down it says current project.
Oh. Oh, if I knew how to read, okay. Current projects.
So at the top, there's like a summary of what languages are already.
Okay, cool. So there's 10 projects for JavaScript, 7 for Git. You guys just learned Git, look at that. Java, C++, Python, documentation, look at that, you can do documentation. Does it show the companies?
Yeah. There's
Also-
just not very many in there quite yet.
So
Yeah,
Apache is a
Apache's
company,
new.
right?
That's new.
CF, I don't know what that is. Jenkins is on there, one internship. LibreHealth, Linux kernel, Mozilla's on there, 10 interns, that's a lot of people.
And I actually they had a Twitter chat, and they were saying that while some of these companies have only one intern like listed, it's because they only have a budget for one, but Outreachy
Right.
themselves will contribute, so that doesn't mean that they're only gonna have one.
Not only that, but honestly, the last time they did this, I want to say I competed against one other person, right? It doesn't really depend on your skills. It's more about that relationship you have with the person responsible for that project, right? As you're contributing, if you're able to communicate with that person, let them know that you're working, you have a status update, whatever the case may be, it's easier for them to envision working with you, right? And them actually selecting you as the intern, okay? Again, I don't know how all the internships work, but just so you guys know, if I were you, I'd go for Mozilla. If I could do it again, I'd probably do it again. Again, so not all of them have the same perks, but Mozilla does give you like a laptop. You guys keep it. They fly you out to the all hands. They provide you, and I think all internships do. They provide you $500 stipend, right, for
To go to a conference.
to go to a conference, and then along with apart from that, they also give you the $5,500. So it's good change, especially for like pizza and stuff. So it's a lot of
I
money.
figure I'm sitting around doing this on my own for free.
Yeah, so exactly. You're gonna be doing this online
That's
anyways.
good.
So
Money, right?
yeah, cool. Well, thank you everyone.
Okay, good to know.